everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cosmic Besties 555. I'm Kelly and this is Cristy, and we are here at your go-to space for deep, soulful conversations that hopefully feel like hanging out with your best girlfriends. So whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or you're just dipping your toes into the mystical, we want you to be able to come here, chat with us, and feel like you're just hanging out with your girlfriends. It's a place for you to expand your mind. Hopefully, will spark your intuition and make the unknown feel like home. So, we explore all things spiritual. We've done a few episodes already. Go check those out. But today we're going to be focused on astrocartography. And you're probably wondering, what the hell is that? So, I'll give you my take on what it is, and then Christy can dive in a little bit. But for those of you familiar with like this whole concept of horoscopes or astrology, in order to do that, you're putting in information about your natal chart. So you're putting information in about the day and time you were born, um, and like if you can get down to that actual like minute and hour you were born, that gives us a picture of what the universe looked like at that moment when you came into the world. So astrocartography uses that information, and it merges this like ancient wisdom of astrology with modern day geography, and it kind of gives us this unique perspective on how these planetary influences can, not will, but can shape things in our lives, from relationships to career to money and all things like that. What else do you want to add, Chris?
I think that's perfect. I think it's the idea that, your planets hold energy and within where they line up on the map can also influence that. So it could influence, where you are most likely to find love or find career advancement, or where would be a great place for you to live or retire or have children, depending on your own personal like night sky or day sky, wherever the planets were at the exact moment you came into this earth. That also is going to correspond with different geographical areas on a map where that planet was in that moment. So just like, the moon influences like female cycles, all of the planets influence different like energetic meridians within yourself, but also like geographically on the map.
Yeah. I'm not an expert yet on a lot of the different like astrological houses or anything, but I find this stuff pretty fascinating. Um, I have learned a few new terms in kind of, well, somewhat from Christy, but also from doing my own research into astrocartography. So when you get your chart, you'll see all of these different symbols, which tie back to your natal chart, but then you'll also see uh, little acronyms or letters. And so I've learned that the ascendant line is really reflecting your self-image and personal identity, and your descendant line influences relationships and partnerships. But I know there are so many symbols on there. I know you've looked into a couple other ones.
Yeah, so I always say when you open your chart, it's going to look crazy at first. So click on the little area where it's like where your birthplace is, and then just start kind of looking around where you live. I like to just look at the my chart and just say, okay, like where do I feel drawn to? And most of the time there will be a line that's going straight through that area. Some of the big ones to look for are so your sun sign, where the sun is on your map, is a great place for you to live. You'll be happy, you'll feel most like yourself. Venus is best places to find love, maybe where your soulmate is originated from or where their family's from. Mercury is good for friends and learning business. Let's see. I wrote this all down. Moon is where you feel really comfortable. It's a good place to retire. You'll feel happy, content. Mars is really great for goals, and Mars is what Kelly and I were talking about this before. Like if you go through a breakup, or if you like are, leaving a company and starting something new, go to where your Mars is, because it's all about you. Like when you're in Mars, you're going to feel influenced to just focus on your own self and your own goals, and that's going to be healing for you. Let's see, what were some of the other ones? Oh, Jupiter is like lucky, happy, prosperity. It's a great place to retire, a great place to settle down. Saturn, if your line is in Saturn, it's a good place for career, but you may be kind of lonely because you're like focused on career. So if you are kind of in the time of your life where you don't have kids, you don't have a partner, maybe go to where your Saturn is and like your career will really take off. Chiron, this is where your soul can heal. So Chiron can be tricky because it can feel uncomfortable because you're doing a lot of that kind of like soul shadow work, but it's ultimately going to be the most healing place that you can go to. So it can feel good, it can feel really healing, but it also can sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable if you are doing like that shadow work. North Node, that's where your destiny is. So if you're wanting to go towards your destiny and the reason why your soul came to Earth, maybe go look up where your North Node is. Pluto is really great for new beginnings, starting over. Neptune is interesting because I didn't realize this when I was looking at my own chart, but Neptune is about fantasy and art and kind of losing your sense of reality and being totally taken over by your intuition. So if you're really into like, your intuition and like kind of building that psychic muscle, maybe go to where your Neptune line is.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Christy and I were looking at our charts before, and she knows this because we've known each other for over 25 years now, but I'm always drawn to kind of Central and South America. And so we went to go look at it. And so many of my lines run through different places in Central and South America, mostly South America. So that's just confirmation for me that I need to spend some more time there.
Yeah, I think what's really cool is, like I said, most of the places where I feel like drawn to naturally, like I've always wanted to like go to New Zealand and Australia, and I have a line that goes like right through like Sydney and that area, and that's my line of like where would be good to retire. I think it's really funny. My like Venus line, like my line of love, goes directly through Greece, and like the very first boy I like ever like allowed my heart to like open up to was Greek. So like that's kind of funny. I definitely didn't marry someone who looks Greek, but I always feel like my kind of like type that I go for is like that, like dark hair and like olive skin kind of. So that was interesting to me. What's really cool is I have lines that go like I have a line that goes directly through St. Louis, which is where I live, and it was one that was supposed to be good for like career and like just feeling happy and at peace. And then I also have a line that goes right through Denver, which was the place that I was actually supposed to move to before I met my husband. And that one's all about like career and like artistic endeavors. And I was going to do musical therapy, so that's kind of artistic. So I thought that was interesting. Like it was like my soul knew.
Yeah. Or it could be like me and you have zero lines going through the place where you grew up and where you're currently living. So I thought that was interesting. But I've always had this like desire to travel. Like this might be my home base, but I find myself feeling at home in all these different places around the world. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to take it as confirmation that I'm
Mhm.
supposed to continue traveling.
Well, and they say, so let's say you have a line that goes through France. Like I remember you had a couple lines that went through France.
Mhm.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're supposed to live there or that, your soulmate is from France. What it can mean is that you are going, it might be good to like bring in elements of that place into your own home. So maybe you cook, some French cuisine one night, or maybe you hang a poster up of like um I don't know, like the Eiffel Tower, and you just bring in the elements from that area. That also is going to influence your energy. So if your line like of like Jupiter or happy, the happiness one goes through wherever, maybe you add in elements from that place to your home or to your life, and then you're going to feel just as happy, even though you're in Madison, Wisconsin and not Paris, France, you know? I grew up in Southern California and I have no lines that that go through California at all. So technically I wasn't supposed to live there, but I did for, over 10 years.
Remind me, what did you say about Pluto?
Okay, so Pluto is, oh, that's New Beginnings, a good place to start over.
Okay, okay. I was doing some more exploration and my Pluto line goes through like Portugal and Morocco and a few of the different African countries and then also just off the coast of Cape Town, which
Oh,
we
interesting. Yeah. So Pluto would be a good place to like start over, new beginnings, meet new people, reinvent yourself.
interesting.
I also think like what's really kind of like interesting and like is a little bit out there, but if you think about past lives, I would go to whatever area you feel drawn to, and I almost would be curious if maybe you had a past life there. Like I know last time we talked about how you were really interested in Egypt and how you felt like you had a past life there. You had an inner knowing, and then it was confirmed through the Akashic records. So I wonder if you have lines going through Egypt. I wonder if like our past lives influence um like our choice of when we're going to be born.
And to answer your question, I have several lines, harmonious lines going through Egypt.
See, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, several lines going through other areas of like, we talked about the past life that I had that was kind of at the time of the Essenes over
Mhm.
in um, more of that other Middle Eastern part of the world. And I have several lines going through there as well.
Yeah, see? So I think that there's something to it. I think that like you can look at it just as like fun places to go travel. Like maybe look and see like, oh, I want to go to Bali. Like, would this be a good place for me? And see if you have like a happy line that goes through it or a healing line that goes through it. Or you can go a little bit deeper and like kind of get curious about maybe where you maybe had a past life and see if that's anywhere on your map. If you have lines going through those areas where you just intuitively feel drawn to.
Yeah. So I think our ask or our homework for all of you is to
Mhm.
try doing your own astrocartography chart. What resource do you recommend? It might be the same one that I'd recommend.
I think it probably is. So I do astro.com,
Yep.
but when you search, like when you Google it or whatever, and you put in astro.com, also do astrocartography because otherwise it's going to take you to their homepage and it will be like a bunch of horoscopes or like your natal chart. And you could do that, but you really want your astrocartography chart.
Yeah, I think the map I was playing with on their site the other day is called Astro Click Travel. So that's the
Yeah.
name of the chart. And then it's the scalable map. So after you've
Mhm.
entered your information, you can then play around with it. And one of the really cool things is if you click on each of the lines, then it pulls up all kinds of information for you right there at the website. And it's totally free. So.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's interesting and it's super fun to kind of and validating too, where you're like, oh, well, it makes sense that I was drawn to this area of the world or this area of like, or why I chose to live in this area. Um, everything I believe it just supports the idea that like everything has meaning behind it, which I truly do believe.
Uh, what was Mercury again?
Let me see. Mercury. Mercury is good for friends and learning business. So
Interesting.
yeah, so let's go through this again really quick. So if you guys can get like paper and a pen,
Yeah.
and write it down so that you know when you're looking at your own chart. So the first thing I would do is start at your birthplace and see kind of like around where those lines are, and you can click on them and have fun and just be curious. But the main ones to look for are sun, and that is where you feel most at home, you feel most yourself. It's a great place to live. Venus, best places for love. Mercury, good for friends and business. Moon is you feel really comfortable. It's good for starting a family and also it increases your intuition. Mars, good for those breakups, be it breakup with the company or breakup with your partner. It's places where you're going to focus on yourself and your career. Jupiter, lucky, happy, prosperity, good for retirement. Saturn is good for career. You're going to be very focused on your career, but it's kind of lonely because you're focusing more on career and less on personal. So if you're like 22 and single, maybe go where your Saturn line is. Chiron is that's really good for some deep soul work and healing. North Node is going towards your destiny. You'll uncover, I think, like a lot of questions or answers to questions that you may have about yourself and your own soul. Pluto, new beginnings, starting over. Neptune is fantasy and art, losing sense of reality. So if you're just like, I need a break from reality, maybe go to where your Neptune line is. I think that's all the main ones.
Nice. I just looked
Yeah.
up last place with the
Yeah.
harmonious lines checked,
Yeah.
and I have my sun and my Venus line going through Costa Rica when I checked that harmony.
Oh, yeah, that's what you wanted.
Yeah, well,
You
Costa
love.
Rica is where I got married and where I'm obsessed.
Mhm. Yeah, you were just talking about before we started. You were like, "Oh, I wonder if I have lines in Costa Rica because that's like where I'm most drawn to."
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Gosh, fascinating. Well,
yeah.
thank you for that lovely review. All of you have your homework, and yeah, we want to hear from you. Where are you most drawn to, and does it match what you're seeing in your astrocartography chart? Drop us
Yeah.
a comment, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.